Hello, my name is Bruno Bujagat, and in this video I want to show you how to use my new plugin called Divi Catalog List module. So at first it is a new module for the Divi Builder, and it allows you to create beautiful menu cards or catalog lists directly with the Divi Builder and the settings that the Divi Builder provides to you. And that means it is compatible to all the new filters inside the page builder, but you can also use it with the box shadow, border, options, and the animations, and so on. So in this example you can see how you can create a menu card for a restaurant or something like this, where you can see the menus or the different menus. Then you will see the drink section, desserts, wines, and cocktails. And in this case a lightbox is enabled, and that means when you click on such a field, the image that is related to this field opens in a lightbox, and you can click through the images from this menu. But this is just one example. So when we go to simple lists, then you will find at first a list with the default settings. So here's nothing changed inside the settings panel. All I've done for this list is to include the titles, the price values, and the descriptions. But when we scroll down, then you will find exactly the same list with some hover effects applied and a colored header and price value. And in the next list you will find that you can also use these fields as links to internal or external website pages. So when we click on this item, then it opens in a project related to this field. When we go back and we go to the next list item and click here, it will open in another project field. But it's up to you if you want to use the lightbox or the links or just the default fields. When we go to the advanced lists section, then you will find at the beginning a default list. And that means that all of these lists in this page are exactly the same, but with different settings in the page builder module. So in this case, just a smooth hover effect is applied. In the next section you will find a fully bordered list with sepia effect here on the images. Then you will find the same list with a margin bottom between the different list fields and a box shadow. And here it's exactly the same, but without background color. Exactly the same, but with a border on top. And all of the settings are created with the module itself. So no external CSS styles are applied. All of this are made with the module itself. And here it works with the inner shadow effect. And this effect is applied to the list itself and the different items. Then you will find the opposite, and here is a combination from both of them. And in this list you will see a gray-scaled image filter applied to this field images. But let us change to the settings itself. So for this I want to change to the Chrome browser, and here you can see the advanced lists, which you have seen before. And when we scroll down a bit, so please note this is the normal page builder, just with other CSS rules, so there's nothing special, just another layout or styling. So when we scroll down, then you will find the first list. So in this case it is this first default list. And when we open the settings panel for this one, then you will find at first the different fields, so represented here by these fields. And when we scroll down, then you will find a lot of settings that can be applied globally to each of these fields. So in this case, catalog fields padding means this inner padding here inside the field. Then catalog fields margin represents this space, and then you will see the box shadow options that you can apply to the different fields. So in this case, this box shadow is selected. When you scroll down a bit, then you can see that you can set up rounded corners, and this will work here on these corners for all of these fields. In the next section, you can apply the border settings for the fields. So on the top, left, bottom, and the right side. But here's something special. So here you can see this keep border bottom. And there's a special reason for this, because when you take a look at this list, then you will see that there is no border bottom, because if you do not disable this, then you will have a double line for the border bottom from the first field to the border top from the second field. And this means by default the border bottom is set to a width of 0 pixels, but this makes no sense if you want to use your fields with space between the different fields. And exactly for this use cases, you can enable this keep border bottom. And this is exactly what you can see here for these fields. And when we scroll down again, then you will find the catalog field image options. And here you can choose an angular or circular format for your images. So you can see here the angular format, here the circular format. Then you can apply the vertical position from the images. So you can choose to position them on top, and this is the default behavior. But you can also set this image in the center or at the bottom. So when you have more text in the description and the fields will be higher, then this is the setting where you can apply the vertical position. It's also possible to change the width and the height from the image. So this can be done here with this range slider. And this is the section where you can apply the different filters for the images. So in this case, here the image sepia is set to 100%. In the next section, you can set up your currency symbol. So here you have a field where you can apply a euro sign or a dollar sign, pound sign, or whatever you need. And then you can choose if you want to position this currency symbol before or after your price value. And here you can set a default width for the price values, including the currency symbol. And then we come to the section where you can set up different settings for the lightbox. So at first you can choose if you want to open the linked images inside the lightbox, or if you want to use the fields as a link or none of them. But if you want to use the lightbox, then here with this field you can set up the background color. So by default it is set up to a black color amount, but that's up to you if you want to use this behavior or if you want to change it. And then you can set up the font color, and this will apply it to this title, to this counter, and to this closing sign here on the top. And you can also choose the vertical position from the image inside the lightbox. And this can be helpful if you use squared images, because by default squared images are stretched to the width of the lightbox. But if you don't want this, then you can force the image full height, or you can choose to position your images on top or at the bottom to show the areas that you want to display to your users. So when we scroll down to the next section, then here you can set up a background for your catalog lists or your menu cards. You can set up the admin label, as you know it from other modules. And when we switch to the design panel, then you can see that you can set up a background color for the list, the holy list or the complete list. Then you can set up background color for the different fields, and these are global settings. Then you can set up the background color on hover. You can set up the title and price color on hover, so you can also change this color value on hover if you want it. And then you will find the options for your header. In this case it's this one. You can set it to H1, H2, H3 and so on. You can choose the font, you can choose if you want to use it in a regular form or bold or something like this. And then you will find all the settings that you know from other modules from Divi. And here in the next section you will find the settings for this description text. And please note, for the header, this H1, H2, H3 only applies to this title, but all the other settings here are also applied automatically to the price value. And here you can choose the width from the complete list. It means the complete element. You can choose spacing with margin and padding, and you can also add a border to the complete element. So in this case you can, for example, add a padding from 20 pixels or something like this, and this will switch the inner content inside this element, and then you can apply an outer border here in this section. You can also choose a box shadow for the complete element, and here you have one more time the filters that you can apply in this case to the complete list. And here it's the same for the animation. So this animation works for the complete element. And in the advanced section you have some CSS boxes, so you can apply additional rules to your images, outer container, header, prices, descriptions, lightbox background, and so on. So these are the settings from this parent module, and these settings are applied globally to the complete element and all of its fields. But when we open a single field, then there is something more. So in the first section, content image, you can choose which image you want to apply, and this is optional. So if you leave this field empty, then no image container will be added to your HTML output. And then you can also set an alternative text, and you can set up a title text for this image container. In the next section you can set the header, and in this case it's this header here on top. Then you can define the catalog field price, and if you need to override the global currency symbol, then you can do it in this field. So if you leave this field empty, then the global settings will be used. But if you set up anything here in this field, it will override the global settings. And in this field you can add the description for your field. And here's one more thing. So for this I need to switch to the parent field. And at the moment the lightbox is enabled, but we can switch to set links. And if we do so, then we can choose if we want to open the link in the same tab or in a new tab. And this is also a global setting. And if we set this to links and we go back to the first field, then you can see link this field is enabled, and I cannot disable it here in this section. So this can only enabled or disabled in parent settings. And when I choose this, then I can add a link to this field, and this can an internal link to a page inside my website. You can also set it to an external website, and then you can choose to use the defaults, or you can override the defaults by using the same tab or the new tab. And here you can also set a background image or something like this to the single field. So this is not applied to the list. So if you set up something in this field, it will be applied to a single field. And here in the design options, you can override the field background color. You can override the catalog field background color on hover. So this maybe makes sense if you have a field item which is on sale or something like this. If you want to use another color to show your customers or users that this field is something really special. You can also override the title and price color on hover. And you can also choose or change the spacing. You can override the border options that's set up on the global field or form. And you can also override the box shadow filters on this field. And if you go to the advanced section, then you will find additional CSS boxes where you can apply additional rules or CSS rules to your different parts of this field. But there is something more, and you can see this if we go to our page, and when I click on embedded lists, then you can see that it is also possible to apply your lists or your menus inside of the default Divi tabs, accordions, and everything else where a text field is applied. And if you want to use the module on this way, then all you need to do is to add your menus or your catalogs inside the Divi layout section. So here in this case you can see menu, menu 2, menu 3, and all of these menus are added to the category called Catalog List. And this category should be installed automatically when you activate this plugin. And just if you apply a layout, and it's up to you, you can use module, like in this case you can use raws or complete page layouts. If you apply them to the category Catalog List, then you can go to a tab section. In this case it's this tab, and when we open the tab and we simply add a new tab and we call it list 6, then you will find this little symbol or this little image here, and if you click on this image, then you will find menu, menu 2, menu 3. And please note that this lightbox enabled is checked automatically. And the reason for this is that the plugin knows that in this menu the lightbox is enabled by default. And this checkbox is needed because when you insert this menu without this checkbox enabled, then the lightbox will not work. And when we go to menu 2, then you will see that this checkbox is also enabled by default. But when we go to menu 3, then it is disabled. And the reason for this is that the lightbox is not enabled for this menu. But in our case, we simply want to use the first menu, and when you hit OK, then this shortcode will automatically be added to your text field. And if we save this tab and update the page, and we switch back to Opera, then here we have the list 6, and it's exactly the same menu. So, but you can also apply multiple shortcodes. So in this case you can set it to a new line, or you can simply insert it behind this one. In this case I want to use menu 2, and let us also use menu 3. And if we do so, all the shortcodes are added automatically. We save the page, switch back to Opera, and if we go to the list 6, then you will find the menu 1, menu 2, and the menu 3. So in this demo page I simply use the same list in all of these tabs, but you can use or create as many lists and menus as you need, and you can apply them everywhere you want them. So in this case here they are included inside a tab element, but you can also use them inside such accordions or inside toggles or everywhere else where a text field is available. So I think that's it for this video. Feel free to contact me if you have any additional question or when you need assistance in any case, and I really hope you like this plugin and it's helpful for you and you can create beautiful results for your webpage or for your clients or everywhere else. I'm looking forward to hear from you, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.